Alrighty, g'day traders. Welcome to wrap up of Tuesday the 21st of August. So you can see here on the daily charts, markets pushing up through where this previous high was. So 14.13 was a high that the market hadn't gone past for quite a while. We got up through it, pushed about 10 points through it, so we got a little bit of momentum up through that. Coming back now and was watching to see whether they get some sort of bounce off that 14.13 area, but you can see it's getting quite a significant push through the area. There's certainly a little bit of pressure being applied to the downside. So obviously we're in an uptrend at the moment. There's no doubt about that. But the sellers are mounting some pressure. So flipping over to the medium-term charts, or this 15-minute chart, which I use as a really good guide to kind of link the dailies and the shorter-term markets, you can see there's a few lines on here. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that particular one at the moment. It's just an area that I'm watching. It's just a couple of times we've hit it, drew it in there, just waiting to see if the market. This was earlier on. If we might have used it as a resistance, but obviously we kept on pushing down. This trend line here, quite significant. It came from right back here. We've hit it many times. We've hit the underneath side of it as well. Hit it here. Got through it there a little bit, but it's hit the roundabout area, and that's where it's got its started to get its run down from. So watching this, and even through last night's market, Tuesday's market, just seeing what it's doing and how it's approaching each level. So sort of this 14.14 was fairly key. It got through that. 14.14, 14.13, that was where it originally went higher from. The next sort of levels down here about 14.11, and then it's getting pressure on that. So it's continuing to go low. You can see it's popped up. It's pushed lower again here. It's really mounting some pressure. It'd be interesting to see if it gets down to 1403 and what it wants to do around here. 1403 going back through here was a real significant area in the market. It held the market down for so long, then got above it, then it got underneath it again, then it got above it, and that's where the buyers originally just really launched themselves from. You can see 1403 there, that's where it's taken off from. So coming back, I think the market really will have a good look at this area here. It's a significant area in the market, and be interesting to see if we can get underneath it, use it as resistance and push lower. That's certainly going to be a good sign for the sellers that they want to put a lot more pressure on the downside. But they've got a lot of work to do yet, and just got to remember that it is a buyer's market. But this certainly gives a little more perspective of what these sellers are trying to do at the moment. As far as today's market, what I want to do is just again draw sort of a line here and here. So this is sort of the pre-market range which we're contained in now. It's an area, like I've mentioned many times, I really like to look at it and trade, and gives a lot of perspective as what the market's trying to do. What happened here, it dealt up around the top of this pre-market range. As the market opened up, we sort of popped back and then pushed through and got a quite nice little push through, and a couple of markets where we're all trying to break to the upside here. The interesting thing about this area here, and I'll bring it up to show you guys, you can see this is the Dow Jones. Okay, so you can see it's tried to push up, but it's got nowhere near, hasn't got anywhere near breaking its pre-market range, and then it starts to really come back and deal around near its lows, and it's putting a lot of pressure on the downside. So indications that this is a bit of a fake move to the upside. When you see not all the markets pushing through like that, it comes back, gets back into the range, then all of a sudden it goes the second time, and you can see the second time how much strength there is now with the Dow Jones and with all the markets. They're all pushing through, and that's a great indicator now that after drawing those perimeters around the areas, after it's had a bit of a fake move, comes back, comes a second time. There's a reason it's coming the second time with all the markets supporting it. It was definitely going to get some momentum and push through this particular area to where it's made a little bit of a high and got up to 14.24. From there, this market started to pull back. You're trying to decide whether it's going to be some sort of pullback and then an attempt to go back to the highs, or whether it's going to start to head back in the opposite direction and come back within the range. This area here, obviously this candle here, it's obvious that it's starting to change direction, and all the other markets start to break at this point here. It's kind of a tough one to really get on. What you want to see is it sort of pop up a little bit more, then break down. It gives it a little bit more time. This one sort of went without much notice. There wasn't much of a sort of a go at the upside and then come back down. It's just given way, and just the sellers have really rushed through from here. And it's just been pretty consistent all the way down there, and without having any sort of retracement as it became obvious on the downside, until it got down around the lows here. Then we had a bit of a retracement here, and it's had another look at the lows, through this area here. If you look back at the other markets, again, all the markets were just very much consistent on the downside and really looking to push through, and it's quite obvious, or in such shade, the probability was that it was certainly going to try to go lower again. Then we came down to this point here. Again, it's popped back and gone lower. This one not so obvious, or I wouldn't say as high probability. Obviously it's more extended. That's one side of it, but a couple of things. If you look at, or the main thing that I was looking at was the Nasdaq. So let me just bring that over and show you guys. Okay, so this is the first area here. So this is where it's broken that first time we talked about over here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go along the Nasdaq and you watch the cursor follow on the S. See the Nasdaq and all the other markets. What they were doing is they were hanging around its lows. When they were coming back, they weren't putting any pressure on previous little high points. They weren't getting any sort of major pullbacks or anything like, or major retracements, I should say. All the pressure was on the downside, and it was quite evident that it was looking to go lower. Fast forward to this particular area here. So this is the second area where the ES broke lower, but you can see the Nasdaq. It's coming back, putting pressure on previous swing highs. It's breaking through it. Had a little bit of a go at the downside, then it's popped up higher again. So all this momentum, and you'll watch the Russell was doing a very similar thing. It took a long time to actually come down, and really it's never actually broken any lower. It had a lot of pressure, getting a really quite decent bounce. But in that meantime, ES has pushed all this way lower. So what I'm saying is, even though this one's gone lower, as being a probable area of going lower, I wouldn't be so confident when you're seeing all these other markets trying to get a decent bounce in. In this particular case, the ES has had enough strength to keep on going down on the downside for a while there. But many times you'll see the ES all of a sudden then change its tune and start to follow the lead of the Nasdaq or the Russell. So just want to make that point that two vastly different areas, even though the same result happened on the ES, it pushed lower both times. This one, a lot of support from the other markets. This one, be very careful because the support wasn't there. And even though the ES has gone lower quite a few times, the Nasdaq just, as you saw on that previous chart, it just never went lower. It just kept on trying to put pressure to the upside. So there's this real battle between the markets there. And what you want to do, what I do is try and always trade when you've got the markets together, confluence of them all working in one direction. It's like this previous area here. As it popped up here, it's a bit of a fake move because some markets are looking to go, some are really holding back. When it went a second time, all the markets were going together, so therefore probable area that's going to go higher. And then to finish off the day, we got a bounce off 1408, and 1408 is actually a key level in the market. It's an area the market's quite often got a bounce off, and it's a pretty good support resistance if you go back through the week. So just really consolidating that kind of point there by getting a bounce to the tick off that level. So on the 5-minute charts, the 1-minute chart, today, good to see a little bit more action within the markets. Monday obviously being very slow, but Tuesday, I think some of the traders must have really come back into this marketplace. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, hopefully will be pretty good just because it's those middle of the week days. Monday and Friday can be a little bit quieter, especially when we've got quieter markets like we're in at the moment. But the fact that we're pulling right back off those highs now, also going to spur these markets along, and come Wednesday and even Thursday, hopefully we'll see quite a bit of action and continue to be a bit like this particular day. So just to go through the 1-minute chart quickly, so here's this bit of a fake move. It's come back within its range. Then all the markets together were pushing through and pushing higher. It's then come back, and you can see it's almost to the one tick short, but it's almost to the tick, bounced off or got support where it originally faked the move up from, and that's where it's able to launch itself higher from again. Then we've got this really quite significant down move. You can see, what was it here? About a 6, 7, 8, 9, sorry, 9 tick, sorry, 9 tick, 5 tick, sorry, count that up, 5 tick retracement there before going lower. So quite often your markets will give you a little bit more of a chance to get on board here, sorry, but want to be careful of if you're always trying to take the sell here. Then quite often it's sometimes going to find support and go back to the highs. What you want to see is a little bit more confirmation and then break down through the area. We came back down through these lows, so I just marked this area here. You can see the price was really dealt around 1750, and you watch all the other markets were hanging around their lows and trying to push lower. Then eventually when we push through, we've got some power through the area. What it quite often does is comes back, uses this area as a resistance, and that's where it launched lower from. So once we got this move here, this is where it became quite probable that the downside was coming. And then we'll get there. They pushed down, This is the area where the Nasdaq and the Russell got quite a significant bounce. So it's popping up here, and then when you see these green candles here, quite a bit of strength behind this. An area where I believe that from watching the other markets that it was becoming possible that we might get a bit of a push back up and test some of these areas up here. But in the end, somehow it's gone against what the other markets are doing. It's found its own sort of momentum and it's just gone and pushed lower. And till we basically got that bounce at the 1408 level and finished with a little bit of a push up there at the end of the day. So that's a wrap up for Tuesday, and we'll be back on Wednesday.